Lesson 9.4, Video 1. Adding and subtracting rational expressions. It is of the utmost importance that you understand that when you are multiplying and dividing rational expressions, we just go ahead and multiply. It's very simple and straightforward. When we are adding and subtracting rational expressions, this has more needs that we have to attend to. And the most important need is that when adding and subtracting rational expressions, you need a common denominator. And that common denominator goes by a couple different terms when it comes to polynomials. It's called the least common denominator. And by least common, they mean that it is the least common multiple between the two terms. And that means the lowest number or the least number that both numbers can multiply into. And that's important to understand. For example, if I have 2 and 3, the least common multiple between those two numbers, the lowest number that both can multiply into, is 6. Now they both go into 12, but it's not the least common multiple. If I have 4 and 6, now they both go into 24, but the least common multiple would be 12. If I have 4 and 8, they both go into 24, they both go into 16, but the lowest one they both can go into is 8. And if I have a and a squared, the least common multiple that they both can go into is a squared. So that's very important to understand when we're finding common denominators with polynomials. If they already have a common denominator, then life is pretty good. Just like down here, if they have the same denominator, we just go ahead and add the numerators, and if they're like terms, put them together. If they're not, we just leave them as is. If we are subtracting, a recommendation is to make this a plus and put the negative with the numerator. And that allows you to go ahead and subtract the numerators. So let's follow suit there and say if they have a common denominator, then all we have to do is add the numerators. Now one might say let's cancel these out like we did with multiplication, but we need common denominators to go further and to move on with adding and subtracting rational expressions. So we don't want to cancel in this case. We need that to be 15, and if we cancel things out, we're not going to have the same common denominators. So here we just want to go ahead and add our numerators and put it all over that one common denominator. Now at this point, if you could cancel, you could, but in this case I can't. They don't all have something in common, so I would stop. On the next one, again, same common denominator, so I go x plus 6y plus x plus 4y all over 24x to the fourth. Now we have some common numerators here. 2x plus 10y all over 24x to the fourth. Now that we've combined the two fractions, now you can ask yourself, do they all have something in common? And they all do. They're all divisible by 2. So I can get x plus 5y all over 12x to the fourth. Notice I simplified after I did everything. And when we multiply and divide fractions, we usually simplify first. And this ends lesson 9.4, video 1.